I'm posting here because I need outside eyes before I do something irreversible. I'm not looking for validation. I'm looking for clarity, because right now my marriage feels like a controlled demolition and I'm standing inside the building while the charges are already wired. My name's Ethan. I'm 34, married to Lauren, 32. We've been together 9 years, married for 6. No kids yet. By choice, she always said. We live in Colorado, suburban, good jobs, clean image. The kind of couple people point at during dinner parties and say, they've got it figured out. That line makes me nauseous now. The first crack wasn't a scream or a fight. It was a charge on our joint account. $412. 73. Restaurant in downtown Denver. I noticed because I handle the finances. Always have. Lauren hates numbers stress. The restaurant wasn't the issue. It was the day. Tuesday. At 1:14 p.m. She'd texted me that morning. Long meetings all day? Probably grabbing a salad near the office. This place doesn't serve salads. It serves tasting menus and wine flights and dim lighting designed to make people lean closer across tables. I didn't confront her. That's important. I didn't accuse. I didn't even ask a question. I logged it mentally and moved on. That's how this started, quietly. Over the next 3 weeks, patterns formed. New workouts, but not the gym she'd gone to for years. Clothes I'd never seen before. A perfume that wasn't hers, sharper, heavier. She started guarding her phone like it was radioactive, screen always face down. Passcode suddenly changed. And the lies. Jesus, the lies were small, constant, effortless. Happy hour with Melissa. Team dinner. Client thing, you wouldn't get it. She said them the way you say good morning. Automatic. Unbothered. The night that really lodged under my skin was when she came home late, kicked off her heels, and smiled at me like nothing was wrong. She kissed my cheek, smelled like hotel soap, and said, "You're up late." I said, "Yeah." That was it. No fight. No suspicion voiced. I watched her walk to the bathroom and lock the door behind her, something she'd never done once in 9 years. I remember sitting there on the couch thinking, if I ask now, she'll lie. And worse, she'll believe her own lie. So instead, I did what I'm ashamed to admit came naturally. I started observing. Another charge appeared. Another hotel. Another work thing. I checked our shared cloud photos. Nothing. She was careful. Too careful. That told me more than any naked selfie ever could. The real gut punch came on a Friday night. She told me she was going to a coworker's birthday dinner. I offered to drive her. She hesitated, just a second too long, then said, "It's fine, babe. I'll Uber." She left. I waited 10 minutes. Then I checked the bank app again. Pre-auth hold. Same restaurant as before. Same damn place. That's when the anger hit. Not explosive, not cinematic, but cold. Focused. The kind of anger that doesn't yell. The kind that plans. I didn't follow her. I didn't text. I poured a drink and sat alone in the house we'd picked together, surrounded by furniture she'd insisted was us, and I realized something that scared me more than the affair itself. Lauren didn't think she'd get caught. Not because she was smart, but because she thought I was safe. Predictable. Manageable. And that meant whatever was happening wasn't a mistake. It was a decision. I don't know yet who he is. I don't know how long it's been physical. I don't even know if she thinks she loves him. What I do know is this. She's lying to my face with the same mouth that used to promise me forever. And I haven't confronted her yet, because once I do, the marriage I thought I had officially dies. I'm still deciding how. I didn't confront Lauren because confrontation gives liars a stage. Instead, I gave her space. Room to hang herself with her own routine. That's the part people don't like when I explain it later, the calm. They expect rage, slammed doors, some dramatic, "who is he?" moment. But rage is messy. Rage warns people. Rage gives them time to clean up. I wanted truth, not theater. So I did something that felt almost unnatural. I became nicer. I cooked dinner more often. Asked about her day without probing. Smiled when she smiled. Touched her arm in passing. Played the role of the oblivious, trusting husband so well that she stopped hiding as carefully. That's when the real lies started slipping. One Tuesday morning she told me she'd be working late. A product launch, last-minute chaos, her boss losing his mind. She said it with a laugh, like it was cute. I nodded and told her not to stress, that I'd reheat leftovers. At 9:47 p.m., my phone buzzed with a fraud alert. Not a charge, a declined transaction. Luxury hotel. Downtown. Card declined due to daily limit. I raised the limit from my phone. Didn't text her. Didn't call. 10 minutes later, the charge went through. I sat there staring at the confirmation like it was a death certificate. Not shocked anymore. Just disappointed. The kind of disappointment that settles in your chest and doesn't leave. She came home close to midnight, smelling like sex and expensive sheets. She didn't even try to hide it this time. Just brushed past me, murmured "long day," and went straight to the shower. While the water ran, I checked our laptop, the one we shared. She'd forgotten to log out of her email. I know how this sounds. I'm not proud of it. But let's not pretend privacy still existed at that point. There it was, buried in promotions and work threads. A reservation confirmation. 2 guests, king bed, and a name. Mark Reynolds. Not a coworker. I knew her team. I'd been to company events. This wasn't someone from work. I searched his name the way any sane person would. LinkedIn first. Mid-40s. Sales director at a medical device company. Divorced. 2 kids. Golf photos. Expensive watch. The kind of guy who posts motivational quotes about grind and earning your life. I laughed out loud. A short, ugly sound. That's what I'd been replaced with. A cliché. When Lauren came out of the bathroom wrapped in a towel, humming like she hadn't just detonated our marriage, I looked at her and felt something snap cleanly in half. She climbed into bed and reached for me, her hand sliding over my chest like muscle memory. I didn't pull away. That part still makes my stomach turn. Afterward, she curled into me and said, casually, "I love you." I stared at the ceiling and wondered how many times she'd said that to him. Or worse, how easily she could say it without meaning anything at all. The next morning, I asked her one simple question. "Hey, random thing," I said, sipping coffee. "Do you know a guy named Mark?" She didn't even blink. "Mark who?" I watched her face. The confidence. The ease. The speed of the lie. "Reynolds," I said. She frowned like she was searching her memory. "Oscar Worthy." "Oh, him? Yeah, he works with a vendor we use sometimes." "Why?" I shrugged. Just saw the name pop up somewhere. Thought I recognized it. She smiled. Relaxed. Kissed my cheek. "You worry too much." That's when I understood something critical. Lauren wasn't just cheating. She was rehearsing. Every lie was polished. Every reaction preloaded. She wasn't afraid of losing me. She was confident she could manage me. And that confidence is dangerous. I didn't expose her. Not yet. I did something far more effective. I started preparing my exit and my leverage without her knowing a damn thing. Because if you confront someone like Lauren too early, you don't get justice. You get gaslit, blamed, and slowly erased. And I wasn't about to disappear quietly from my own life. Once you see someone clearly, you can't unsee it. Every interaction after that felt like watching a rerun with the sound off. Same gestures, same phrases, same fake concern layered over something rotten. Lauren didn't know I knew, but she felt the shift. People like her always do. They sense when control starts slipping, even if they can't tell why. She compensated by turning up the affection. Suddenly, she was initiating sex again, leaving little notes on the counter, texting me during the day with inside jokes from years ago. She even suggested a weekend trip to Aspen. Just us, no phones, reconnect. That one almost made me choke on my coffee. Because here's the thing no one tells you. When a cheater starts love bombing, it's not remorse. It's maintenance. It's damage control. She wasn't trying to fix the marriage. She was trying to stabilize her base while she continued running side operations. And I let her. Outwardly, at least. Internally, I switched into a different mode. Survival mode. The kind where emotions get locked in a box so logic can do its job. First stop, a lawyer. I took a half day off work and met with a divorce attorney named Rachel Collins. Sharp, no nonsense. The kind of woman who doesn't waste sympathy where strategy is needed. I laid everything out. The charges. The lies. The hotel. The name. She didn't look surprised. Not even a little. "Do not confront her yet," Rachel said immediately. "Right now, she thinks she's in control. That's your leverage." We went through finances. Assets. The house. Retirement accounts. Turns out being the boring, responsible husband who tracks everything has its perks. Most of the accounts were clean, documented, traceable. Then Rachel asked the question that changed the temperature in the room. "Is there any chance she's been using marital funds to support the affair?" I slid my phone across the table and opened the banking app. Rachel's mouth tightened into a thin line. Good, she said. That matters. I walked out of that office with a folder under my arm and something solid under my feet for the first time in weeks. That night, Lauren came home buzzing, literally glowing. She dropped her purse, kicked off her shoes, and announced, "Guess what? Mark's getting transferred." I froze. She realized what she'd said about half a second too late. "Mark?" I echoed calmly. Her face did something strange, not panic, not guilt, irritation. Like I disrupted her script. "Oh, I mean, Mark from work. Vendor guy. They're moving him to Texas." She laughed. Too loud. Too fast. Anyway, it made me think. About us. About how lucky we are. There it was. The pivot. She sat next to me and took my hand. Her eyes were glossy, practiced. "I don't want to drift," she said. "I feel like we've been on autopilot. I want us to choose each other again. Don't you?" I looked at the woman I'd married and realized she wasn't confessing. She was testing. Testing whether she could confess just enough to relieve her guilt without actually losing anything. Testing whether I'd fight for her, which, in her mind, would confirm my role as the safety net. So I did something unexpected. I smiled. "You're right," I said. "We have been drifting." Her shoulders relaxed instantly. "I think we should reset," I continued. "Start fresh." She squeezed my hand. "I knew you'd understand." Understand. That word burned. Over the next 2 weeks, I documented everything. Screenshots, statements, dates, times. I installed a discreet GPS app on the shared iPad she sometimes used, the one she forgot synced with her phone. That's how I found out the truth she hadn't even bothered hiding anymore. Mark wasn't being transferred. He was married. And Lauren wasn't the only woman. She was the one stupid enough to think she was special. The irony almost made me laugh. The man she was risking our marriage for was lying to her the same way she was lying to me. A perfect closed loop of deception. I didn't feel smug. I felt done. Because the betrayal wasn't just physical anymore. It was structural. Systemic. She had turned our marriage into a resource pool for her fantasy life and assumed I'd keep paying the bill. The next phase wasn't about catching her. It was about timing. And I was very, very patient. The hardest part wasn't pretending everything was normal. The hardest part was realizing how easy it was. Lauren had no idea she was living on borrowed time. She laughed. She planned. She talked about future renovations, about maybe trying for a baby next year. She sent me Zillow listings and TikToks about marriage communication like we were some kind of success story. Meanwhile, I was quietly turning our shared life into a paper trail. I stopped reacting emotionally altogether. That unnerved her more than anger ever could. People like Lauren thrive on feedback, reassurance, jealousy, fear. When that disappeared, she started escalating. She picked fights over nothing. "You're distant. You never open up anymore. Are you even happy with me?" I learned to answer carefully. Calm. Non-accusatory. "I'm just tired. Work's been heavy. I love you. We're fine." Those words tasted like ash. One night, about a month after I'd met with Rachel, Lauren didn't come home at all. No text. No call. Just silence. At 2:11 a.m., the GPS pinged. Hotel. Different one this time. Same zip code. I didn't sleep. I didn't drink. I sat at the kitchen table in the dark and stared at the wood grain like it might tell me how someone becomes this comfortable betraying another human being. At 6:40 a.m., she walked in. Hair messy. Makeup smudged. Wearing yesterday's clothes. She froze when she saw me sitting there. "Oh," she said. "You're up early." "Couldn't sleep," I replied. She dropped her bag and launched straight into it. No hesitation. I crashed at Melissa's. We drank too much wine, and I held up my hand. "Lauren," I said quietly. "Please don't." She stopped mid-sentence, annoyed. "Don't what?" "Don't insult me," I said. "At least try to respect my intelligence." For a split second, just one, her mask slipped. I saw irritation. Not guilt. Irritation that the lie hadn't landed cleanly. Then she recovered. "What are you implying?" she snapped. "I'm allowed to have friends." I nodded slowly. "You are." She stared at me, waiting for the accusation. The explosion. The confrontation she'd clearly rehearsed. It didn't come. Instead, I stood up, picked up my coffee mug, and said, "I'm going to work." That broke something in her. She followed me down the hall, her voice rising. "So that's it. You're just going to act weird and passive-aggressive instead of talking like an adult?" I turned back to her then, just long enough to meet her eyes. When you're ready to be honest, I said, we'll talk. Her face flushed red. I am honest, she shot back. You're projecting. There it was. The gaslighting, clean and practiced. I left. By noon, I had confirmation from Rachel. Mark Reynolds' wife had retained a private investigator. The man had a pattern. Multiple affairs. Workplace overlaps. Expense account abuse. Lauren wasn't special. She was convenient. That realization didn't hurt. It clarified. I made one final move that week. I opened a separate account in my name only and redirected my paycheck. I didn't drain anything. I didn't steal. I just stopped funding the illusion. 2 days later, Lauren noticed. Did you change something with payroll? She asked, trying to sound casual. Yes, I said. Why? Because I wanted to. She stared at me like I'd just spoken a foreign language. You're scaring me, she said finally. You're acting like you don't care. I looked at her for a long moment. I care very much, I said. Just not the way you think. That night, she didn't go out. She stayed home. Watched me closely. Texted someone constantly while pretending to scroll Instagram. Control was slipping. And when people like Lauren feel control slipping, they do one of two things. They confess. Or they double down. She chose the second. And that choice was going to cost her far more than she realized. Lauren didn't confess. She rewrote reality. Over the next 2 weeks, she transformed from careless cheater into a full-time manipulator. Every conversation became a performance. Every question was met with another question. Every boundary I set was treated like an act of cruelty. She cried more. Loud, theatrical crying. The kind where tears come fast but stop the second the audience leaves. You're emotionally abandoning me, she told me one night, curled dramatically on the couch. I feel unsafe in my own marriage. You're punishing me for something I didn't do. I watched her say it all with a straight face. That was when it really hit me. This wasn't panic. This was strategy. She wasn't afraid of losing me. She was afraid of losing control over the narrative. I started documenting everything. Dates, times, exact wording, screenshots of texts she didn't know I could see through our shared cloud backup, hotel charges she forgot to delete from her email trash, a voicemail she accidentally butt-dialed me during, muffled laughter, a man's voice, her whispering. Stop, someone might hear. I saved it all. And then she made her biggest mistake. She tried to flip the script publicly. It started with subtle things. Mutual friends pulling back. Her sister texting me out of nowhere asking if everything was okay. Lauren suddenly confiding in people about how I'd become cold and controlling. One night, during dinner, she said it out loud. I've been thinking maybe we should do couples counseling, she said softly. You've changed. I don't recognize you anymore. I almost laughed. Instead, I said, sure. She blinked. Really? Yeah, I replied. Let's do it. Her relief was instant and misplaced. Because counseling only works when someone's telling the truth. A few days later, I met Rachel again. She listened, flipping through my growing file, calm as ever. She's building a pre-divorce narrative, Rachel said. Painting you as emotionally unstable or distant. That way, when the truth comes out, she looks like the victim. So what do? I asked. Rachel looked at me. You let her hang herself. Slowly. Legally. Then she slid something across the table. A draft separation agreement. Fair. Clean. Precise. Lauren didn't know it yet, but she was already losing ground. That same week, she escalated again, this time at home. She went through my phone while I was in the shower. When she didn't find anything, she confronted me anyway. Who is Rachel? She demanded. I dried my hands slowly. My attorney. Her face drained of color. Attorney? She repeated. For what? I met her gaze. Insurance, I said. She exploded. You're planning something, she shouted. You're sneaky. You're manipulative. I knew it. This whole time you've been gaslighting me. The irony was almost impressive. She accused me of cheating, of emotional abuse, of financial control because I changed my direct deposit. All projections, all confessions, just wearing a mask. I didn't raise my voice. I know about Mark, I said calmly. The room went silent. Her mouth opened, closed. Her pupils blew wide. For 3 full seconds, she said nothing. Then she laughed. Actually laughed. Oh my God, she said, shaking her head. You're insane. There it was. The final layer. I've never touched him, she said. He's my boss. That's disgusting. You need help. I nodded. Okay, I said. That word, okay, scared her more than anything else I could have said. Because I wasn't asking anymore. I wasn't proving. I wasn't chasing the truth. I already had it. And the next move wouldn't be emotional. It would be irreversible. The silence after that conversation was heavier than any screaming match we'd ever had. Lauren stopped pretending I didn't scare her. She started pretending I didn't matter. That's another tactic people don't talk about enough. When manipulation through emotion fails, they switch to dismissal. Indifference as a weapon. She became colder, sharper, suddenly very busy. Late meetings. Work dinners. Weekend plans that didn't include me. She moved through the house like a stranger squatting in someone else's life. And I let her. Because behind the scenes, everything was accelerating. Rachel moved fast. Subpoenas. Financial reviews. A formal request for Mark Reynolds' expense records tied to business travel. We weren't just building a divorce case anymore. We were building leverage. One afternoon, Rachel called me at work. We pulled phone records, she said. Burner number. Registered to a prepaid account. But the location data lines up perfectly with Mark's hotel stays. I closed my office door. Lauren? I asked, even though I already knew. Yes, Rachel said. And it gets better. She forwarded me a file. Photos. Time-stamped. Grainy but undeniable. Lauren entering a hotel elevator with Mark. Lauren leaving hours later in different clothes. Mark's hand on her lower back like it belonged there. I didn't feel rage. I felt clean. Like the last bit of poison had finally left my system. That night, Lauren came home unusually cheerful. She made dinner. Opened a bottle of wine. Sat close to me on the couch, touching my arm like she used to. I miss us, she said softly. I feel like we've been drifting. I studied her face, the calculated warmth, the practiced vulnerability. She thought she still had time. I've been thinking, she continued. Maybe we should take a trip. Just us. Reset things. There it was. The trap. I smiled. Yeah, I said. Maybe. Her eyes lit up. Hope. Or relief. Hard to tell with someone like her. 2 days later, Mark Reynolds' wife, Emily, called Rachel. Then she called me. Her voice was calm. Controlled. The kind of calm that only comes after crying yourself dry. I just want the truth, she said. All of it. So I gave it to her. Every screenshot. Every timestamp. Every hotel receipt. The voicemail. The burner phone metadata. There was a long pause on the line. Then Emily said, "Thank you." Not angrily. Not dramatically. Gratefully. That same week, HR got involved. Apparently, company policy doesn't look kindly on executives sleeping with married subordinates and billing it as client development. Mark Reynolds was placed on immediate administrative leave. Lauren didn't know yet. She found out at dinner. Her phone buzzed. Once. Twice. Again. She checked it, frowned, then stood up abruptly. "I need to take this," she said. She stepped onto the balcony. I watched her through the glass. The way her posture changed. The way her shoulders tensed. The way she started pacing. 10 minutes later, she came back inside. Her face was pale. Her voice unsteady. "Mark's wife is crazy," she said quickly. "She's accusing him of stuff. Dragging my name into it." I set my fork down. "Is she?" I asked. Lauren snapped. "You went to her," she said. "Not a question. An accusation." "I told the truth," I replied. She stared at me like I'd just committed a crime. "You had no right," she hissed. "You're ruining lives." I almost laughed again. "You ruined ours," I said quietly. "I'm just making sure you don't rewrite it." That was the first time I saw real fear in her eyes. Not fear of losing me. Fear of consequences. And she still didn't know the worst part. Because while she was scrambling to save her image, the legal process was already moving forward. Without her input, without her control, the illusion was collapsing. And there was nothing she could do to stop it. Fear didn't make Lauren honest. It made her dangerous. Once she realized the ground was actually cracking beneath her, she stopped playing defense and went straight to offense. Not emotionally this time. Strategically. The next morning, I woke up to an email from our bank. A request to verify a large transfer attempt. She tried to move money out of our joint savings at 3:18 a.m. Not everything, just enough to hurt. I forwarded it to Rachel immediately. Her response came back in under 5 minutes. "Good. This helps us." By noon, Lauren had escalated again. She called my mother, then my sister, then one of my closest friends from college. By the time I got home, I had 3 missed calls and a text that read, "Is everything okay?" Lauren sounded really upset. She was spreading smoke, creating noise, making sure that when the fire finally broke out, people wouldn't know where to look. When I walked through the door, she was already waiting, sitting at the kitchen table, arms folded, jaw set. "We need to talk," she said. I didn't take my coat off. "Go ahead." She inhaled deeply, like she was about to deliver a closing argument. "I know you think you've figured everything out," she began, "but you're wrong. And whatever game you're playing, it's going to destroy us both." "There is no us," I said calmly. Her eyes flashed. "You don't get to decide that alone. I already did." That's when she dropped the bomb she thought would stop me. "I talked to a lawyer," she said. "If you keep this up, the spying, the financial games, the accusations, I can make a case for emotional abuse." There it was. The threat. The lie dressed up as a legal warning. I nodded slowly. "That's interesting," I said. "Because my lawyer has your attempted transfer logged, your affair documented, and your false statements timestamped." She stood up so fast her chair scraped the floor. "You don't have proof," she snapped. "You have assumptions." I pulled my phone out. Not to show her anything, just to set it face up on the table. And suddenly, she went very still. Because she knew. People like Lauren always know when the evidence is real. They feel it before they see it. Her voice dropped. "What do you want?" she asked. That question hit harder than any insult she'd thrown at me. Not "I'm sorry." Not "I messed up." Not "please forgive me." "What do you want?" "I want the truth on record," I said. "I want a clean separation. And I want you to stop lying about me." She laughed bitterly. "You think you're some hero?" she said. "You think this makes you noble?" "No," I replied. "It makes me free." That afternoon, Rachel filed the separation paperwork. Lauren was served 2 days later, at work, right in the middle of the office, right after HR officially terminated Mark Reynolds. The timing wasn't accidental. She came home shaking, mascara streaked, rage barely contained. "They humiliated me," she screamed. "You did this." "No," I said. "You did." She threw a glass at the wall. It shattered inches from my head. I didn't flinch. That scared her more than anything. "You think you've won," she said through clenched teeth. "But you've made an enemy." I looked around the house. The photos, the furniture, the life she'd been dismantling piece by piece. "I already survived you," I said. That was the hardest part. She stormed out that night and didn't come back. But she wasn't done. Not yet. Because people like Lauren don't accept consequences quietly. They wait. They plot. And they make one last desperate move when they realize the story is slipping out of their control. And when she made that move, she finally told the truth. Just not the way she meant to. Lauren disappeared for 4 days. No texts. No calls. No angry voicemails. Just silence, so complete it felt deliberate. Like she was trying to make me flinch, to remind me she could still destabilize things by simply vanishing. I didn't chase her. That's what she expected. Instead, I focused on locking everything down. Changed passwords. Froze joint credit lines. Forwarded all remaining communication through Rachel. The house felt different, quieter, heavier, like it was finally telling the truth about what had been happening inside it. On the 5th day, she resurfaced. Not to me. To the internet. Rachel called me just after lunch. "She posted," she said. "A long one." My stomach tightened. "What kind of post?" "Victim narrative," Rachel replied. "Emotionally neglected wife. Controlling husband. Implied abuse. Nothing explicit, just enough to poison the well." I didn't ask where. I already knew. Instagram. Carefully curated photos. Soft lighting. Sad captions. Comments full of people who had no idea who she really was. Be kind. You never know what someone's going through. You deserve better. So proud of your strength. Strength. That word almost made me throw my phone across the room. "She didn't name you," Rachel continued. "But she doesn't have to. Mutuals will connect the dots." "What do we do?" I asked. "We wait," she said. Because she just made a legal mistake. Lauren had posted screenshots. Out of context. Cropped. Selectively framed texts between us that made me look distant and cold. But in doing so, she'd accidentally included timestamps that contradicted her timeline. And worse, she'd lied. Explicitly. She claimed she'd been faithful. Claimed the marriage collapsed because I withdrew without explanation. Rachel was practically smiling when she said it. "Defamation territory," she added. "And since your evidence predates her post, it strengthens your position." That night, Lauren finally contacted me. Not a call. A voicemail. Her voice sounded wrecked, hoarse, trembling, raw. Anyone else would have heard pain. I heard calculation layered over desperation. I don't know what you're trying to prove anymore, she said. I loved you. I still love you. But you're destroying me. She paused, letting the silence do some work. If you stop this, we can fix things. Please. That was the closest she ever came to admitting anything. Not I cheated. Not I lied. Just stop. I didn't respond. The next morning, Rachel forwarded me something new. An email. From Lauren. Sent to the wrong person. She'd meant to send it to her friend Melissa. Instead, she sent it to me. The subject line read, I think I messed up. The body was worse. She admitted everything. Not in a dramatic way. Not emotionally. Practically. She talked about Mark like a bad investment. Complained that he wasn't worth it. That he'd promised discretion and protection and failed. She wrote that she never thought I'd go this far. That she assumed I'd be too scared to expose anything. And then the line that ended everything. If I'd known you'd actually grow a spine, I would have handled this differently. I read it 3 times. Then I forwarded it to Rachel. And then, after a long pause, I archived it. Lauren didn't realize it yet, but she'd just handed me the cleanest, most devastating confession possible. No coercion, no confrontation, no ambiguity, just her words, her intent, her truth. By the end of the week, her post was gone, quietly deleted. No apology, no explanation. And the whispers started shifting. People noticed. Stories didn't line up. Screenshots circulated. Questions replaced sympathy. Lauren was losing control of the narrative. And for the first time since this began, she wasn't fighting back. She was bracing. Because what was coming next wasn't public. It wasn't emotional. It was final. The mediation was scheduled for a Tuesday morning. Neutral office. Neutral furniture. Neutral smiles. Everything designed to soften impact. As if betrayal could be reduced to paperwork and polite language. Lauren arrived late. Of course she did. She walked in like she was stepping onto a stage she hadn't rehearsed enough for. Sunglasses on indoors. Lips tight. Confidence worn like borrowed clothing. She didn't look at me at first. When she did, her expression flickered. Not hatred. Assessment. She was trying to figure out how much I knew, and how much damage was already locked in. Rachel sat beside me, calm and unreadable. Lauren's attorney, younger, tired-looking, shuffled papers like he was already regretting this case. The mediator started with the basics. Assets. Timeline. Grounds. Then Rachel spoke. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't dramatize. She simply laid out facts like bricks. Affair documentation. Financial misconduct attempts. False public statements. Employment consequences tied directly to the affair. And finally, the email. Rachel slid printed copies across the table. Lauren leaned forward. Read the subject line. Then the first paragraph. Then she froze. Color drained from her face so fast, it was almost clinical. That's private, she said sharply. That was a mistake. No, Rachel replied evenly. That was a confession. Lauren's attorney read it next. His shoulders dropped. He didn't look at her after that. The room shifted. You can feel moments like that. The exact second when someone realizes the game is over and all that's left is damage control. Lauren finally looked at me. Really looked. Her voice cracked. You planned this, she said. You waited. I didn't answer immediately. Because here's the thing no one tells you. Revenge doesn't feel loud. It doesn't feel triumphant. It feels quiet. Clean. Like setting something heavy down after carrying it too long. I didn't plan to be betrayed, I said. I planned to survive it. She started crying then. Real tears this time. Ugly. Uncontrolled. I never thought you'd actually leave, she whispered. I thought you needed me. That was the most honest thing she'd said in years. The settlement was finalized in under an hour. No alimony. No claims on my retirement. No joint accounts beyond what was legally fair. A non-disparagement clause that muzzled her publicly. And one final condition, hers. She had to move out within 14 days. When it was done, Lauren stood up slowly. She looked smaller, stripped of performance. Just a woman sitting in the ruins of her own decisions. As she passed me, she stopped. I hope you're happy, she said quietly. I met her eyes. I'm honest, I replied. That's enough. She left without another word. 2 weeks later, the house was empty. Her things gone. Her scent faded. The walls felt like they could breathe again. Mark Reynolds took a plea deal with his company. No lawsuit. Quiet resignation. His wife filed for divorce and moved across state lines with their kids. I never heard from him. I didn't need to. One evening, as I boxed up old photos, I found a birthday card Lauren had written years ago. I don't know who I'd be without you. I finally understood that sentence, and I threw it away, because the truth was simpler, harder, and cleaner than anything she'd ever said. She knew exactly who she was. She just didn't think I'd ever see it, and she never believed I'd walk away once I did. The first night alone in the house after everything was gone, I didn't drink, I didn't call anyone, I didn't even turn on the TV. I just sat in the living room, listening to the quiet hum of the city outside. The silence wasn't empty. It was mine. Real. Solid. For years, I'd let her chaos shape me. Her lies, her manipulation, her constant performance. But now, without the constant noise of her presence, I could finally hear myself. My own thoughts. My own heartbeat. The weight I didn't even know I was carrying slowly lifted. I started walking again. Not because I needed to escape, but because I needed to move forward. Every mile, every early morning run, every deliberate step became a reclamation of my own life. I wasn't running from her. I was running toward myself. Toward clarity. Toward strength I didn't know I had until I needed it. Months later, I got a message, not from Lauren, not from Mark, but from a former colleague checking in. Just a simple, "Hey, haven't heard from you. How are you?" I smiled. No obligation, no pressure. Just connection on my own terms. I never contacted Lauren again. Not because I hated her, not even because I wanted revenge, but because I finally understood the power of walking away. She had lived her version of freedom, and I had mine. One of us had to survive the truth. I chose myself. Looking back, I realized something important. Betrayal doesn't just break trust, it reveals character. And mercy, in its purest form, is giving people exactly what they deserve. Consequences for their actions, without losing yourself in the process. I don't regret loving her, and I don't regret leaving her. I regret only the time I spent doubting myself, questioning my worth because someone else was incapable of honesty. That time is gone now, replaced by something far better, certainty. So here's what I'd tell anyone reading this on Reddit. Anyone who's facing the impossible truth that the person you trusted most has betrayed you. Step back. Assess. Protect yourself. Walk away if you have to. And when you do, make sure you leave with your dignity intact and your future untainted. Because life is too short to be anyone's audition. Too short to be a backup option. And too short to let someone else decide your value. I survived. I rebuilt. I thrived. And for the first time in years, I'm exactly where I need to be.